Hi, I'm Captain Mark Vandroff, the commanding officer of Naval Surface Warfare Center, Carderock, and I'm here today to talk to you about profit related to offer. I'm going to talk to you about what is profit related to offer, why you might want to use profit related to offer, some basics about profit related to offer. I'll give you a generic example, then I'll talk about my experiences with profit related to offer, and finally some of the historical examples of the Navy's use of profit related to offer. So what is profit related to offer? And we're going to call it by its acronym PRO. PRO is a competitive procurement technique used when you have two or more offerers that are capable of producing an acceptable end item, and the government does not wish to award all of its end item procurement to a single offerer. It requires that you use a fixed price incentive firm or FPIF type contract. It requires that the government establish four parameters: a winner's profit, a share line, a pro slope, and a pro floor. And then the offerers produce two things in response to the RFP: an acceptable technical package, and a bidded target cost. So why would you use PRO? Well, PRO's been used several times by the Navy in the Strategic System Program for missile components and then for a variety of shipbuilding. And each time, the underlying reason of why you would use PRO is because you were seeking to keep multiple offerers in the procurement. You wanted multiple offerers to remain viable over the long term, and yet rather than negotiate sole source contracts with each of those offerers, you needed to or desired to produce competitive pressure. So PRO, even when in a situation where you might not be able for industrial-based reasons to down select and compete down to a single source, it allows you to keep multiple sources in production while at the same time achieving competitive pressure. You'll see on the slide that you're now seeing some of the basics of PRO. You'll see a graphic representation of the winner's profit, of the pro slope, of the pro floor, and then of your share line, and then some of the different provisions that go into PRO. Now I'd like to take you through a PRO example. So let me give you an example. You have two equal amounts of work, and you have two offerers that the government desires to keep as part of the industry procurement. So we're going to call that Contractor A and Contractor B. Contractor A, in this case, is going to bid 100 units of cost. Contractor B is going to bid 105 units of cost. We're going to assume a winner's fee percentage of 14%, a share line of 50-50, and a pro slope of 65%. So in this example, A is the winner or the low-cost offerer. They get their contract for 100 units of cost plus 14 units of fee for a total FPIF target price of 114 units, and then they would have a share line and a ceiling per your RFP. B is the high cost offerer, sometimes called the loser. They would get their cost, their bid cost of 105, but their fee would be set by the pro formula. So you would take the winner's fee of 14, and from that you would subtract the pro slope times the cost difference, or 65% of 5, 105 minus 100. That would come out to 10.75 units of fee. They would add that to the 105 bid cost, and you'd get 115.75 units. That would give you, they would then have an FPIF contract with a target of 115.75. And again, they'd have their own, per the RFP, their own ceiling, and they're in the share line in this case of 50%. So let me give you an example of another benefit of PRO. It defeats a contractor attempting to overbid and then underrun a contract. So we have the same two contractors, but in this case, B is going to bid 110. If B bids 110, now their PRO formula would be 65% of the difference between 110 and 100, or 10. You would take the winner's fee of 14 and from that subtract 6.5, or 65% of 10, and you would end up with 7.5 units of fee. You would add that on to the bid of 110, and then you'd get 117.5 units. That would be their fixed price incentive firm target. Now, if they overrun that, in the first case, right, so you have the previous bid of 105, which yielded you a 115.75 target. Let's say they overrun to 110 in the first case. In the first case, they have a 5-unit overrun on a 50-50 share line. That means they would lose 2.5 units of fee on that share line. So they would be paid 8.2 units of fee, and there would be a total price to government of 118.25. In the second case, where they actually bid what they 110, they would get the 117.5. So even if it costs them 110 to produce, they're still better off giving you, the government, the lower bid. They would receive 8.2 units of fee instead of 7.5 units of fee. They'd end up with a better profit margin at the end. So mathematically, they are incentivized to bid as close as they can to the lower cost offerer. And that defeats them from trying to pad their bid. They end up losing more on the share line than they would on the 50-50 slope they end up losing more on the pro slope than they would on the 50-50 share line. Because of this, the vital thing about pro then is that your picked pro slope has to be a percentage that's higher than your FPIF share line. Since we're talking about an FPIF contract, you need to have a ceiling, and that ceiling is going to be determined by what you put in your RFP, and you need to think that through. Different things have been done in the past with the pro. Historically, we've seen the Navy has used randomly selected ceilings. This prevents a contractor from thinking that their ceiling might be either very high or very low, and then gaming the bidding for that. We've given the winner a higher ceiling, and then the loser would decrement their ceiling. And again, this prevents purposeful overbidding because they know that they've got a high ceiling. And then we've also used a historical ceiling based on the risk of the work. So each of those techniques are possible. In general, most FPIF contracts will have ceilings between 120 and 130%. So what's my personal experience with pro? Well, I've been part of 3 different major pro procurement contracts. I was a member of the DDG 51 program office when the 2002-2005 multi-year procurement, which was awarded using pro, was awarded. And then when the most recent DDG multi-year procurement in 2013 to 2017 was awarded, I was the program manager for that. And finally, when the Navy did its consolidated LHA TAO competition that used pro for 2 dissimilar parts of work, well, I wasn't the program manager of either program. I was an advisor on the subject of pro to both of the program managers that were part of that procurement. So finally, I'd like to talk about pro variations. You can use pro with other different types of contracting techniques, and I'll give a few examples. The 02 to 05 multi-year procurement included pro plus a competition for quantity. So in this case, there were 3 ships awarded per year over several years as part of a multi-year procurement. What the Navy did was award 1 ship to each offerer based on pro, and then the 3rd ship in each year was based on a low price competition for quantity, but that the bidded price for that had to be reasonable in light of each offerer's pro bid. And that, again, used the pro to force a competitive bid, not just for the ships awarded via pro, but for the extra ships. In the FY13 to FY17 DDG 51 multi-year procurement, we used pro with competition for award of options. That was an issue where there was a certain number of ships programmed in the fit-up, but there were also options for additional ships, both for congressional ads, and there was the potential for foreign military sales in the program. So the ships were awarded 1 each fiscal year via pro, but options on top of that were awarded via competition, again, for price. And then lastly, in the LHA TAO pro, the government was worried that a high-cost offerer might be at a competitive disadvantage going forward, so that was a pro with investment incentive. And what that did was the winner was awarded pro, the loser was awarded their work, again during the pro slope, but the loser had an additional investment incentive. They could earn more fee over their floor up to an investment floor, but that fee had to be spent or earmarked for certain key investment opportunities to make the shipyard more efficient so that they would be better positioned to bid on future work. So that's my discussion today about profit related to offer. It's an excellent contracting technique for when you have two different offerers, both capable of producing an acceptable end item, but you can't compete down to one offer. You want to keep both in the business and yet still maintain competitive pressures. It's been used effectively in a variety of Navy programs. I've used it myself. Thanks. I'm Mark Vandroff, CO, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Carderock.